Thermoplastics are a basic staple in almost all cosplayers' inventory, but if you're not that familiar with them, choosing the wrong one for your project can not only be aggravating, but expensive as well. So in this guide, I want to show you some basics of 3 major thermoplastics currently on the market: Wonderflex, Worbla, and Black Worbla. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to look at is the pricing and sheet size. Wonderflex is our cheapest option of the 3, with prices ranging from $22 for a smaller sheet to around $67 for a jumbo sheet. Coming in second price-wise is Original Worbla. This material ranges from $28 for the small sheet to around $86 for the jumbo sheet. And last but not least is Black Worbla. This is the newest version of Worbla and the highest in price for our 3, ranging from $29 for the small sheet to around $88 for the jumbo sheet. The second thing we want to look at is the flexibility of the material. As you can see, all 3 have a high flexibility rate on their own before being heated and shaped. Do keep in mind, however, that layering any of these materials with foam or more thermoplastic will limit the overall flexibility. Our third comparison is the thickness of the material. While these are all very close in size, the Wonderflex is a bit thinner than the Worbla, and the Black Worbla is a bit thicker than the original Worbla. I do also want to point out that from experience, Wonderflex, while thinner, is much heavier than either of the Worblas after being paired with foam. Our fourth comparison is the material's ability to adhere to itself. As you can see, Wonderflex has a grip that won't quit. With the backside having a kind of net-like texture, it grips tightly to itself, but the net side does not stick as strongly to the smooth side. Worbla, on the other hand, has a strong grip no matter which sides you stick together. As you can see, the material would prefer to break before giving up its hold. Black Worbla is a little disappointing in this test. It doesn't really stick to itself well at all, and it doesn't adhere to a foam layer as well as the other 2 do either. So keep in mind that your seams won't hold up well if they're in an area that will be bending a lot. Our fifth test is for the material's stretching ability. With Wonderflex, because of the net-like backing, it doesn't have a lot of give. The only spots that really stretched were the areas under my thumbs where I was applying force, so you'll have to measure and cut this material very carefully. Worbla, however, does have a decent stretch. The material's texture becomes rougher the further you stretch it, so the more you work it, the more you'll have to prime it later. And of course, if you pull too much, it will tear apart. In this area, Black Worbla is essentially the same as Original Worbla. It has about the same distance of give, and the texture does roughen as you pull it. Black Worbla is much smoother than its counterpart though, so it doesn't become quite as bad. The last thing we're going to review in this video is the ability to reuse and reshape the scraps. For Wonderflex, it's very easy to heat and morph the scraps together. The texture stays relatively smooth, but seams can be difficult to blend. I would say the biggest fault is that if the net-like side ends up on the outside of your piece, you will have to do some priming or sanding work to even it out. For Worbla, shaping the scraps is extremely easy, but as I've said before, by heating and reshaping it excessively, the texture will become rough and require sanding or priming to smooth it out. However, if you use a smooth surface to shape it like I am, you can prevent the texture from becoming too bad. And finally, we have our Black Worbla. Like its counterpart, it is extremely easy to reshape, but you will have to be more careful as Black Worbla's heating point is a lot higher, and the material can quickly become too hot to handle with bare hands. Other than that, it stays smoother than the original Worbla, which is why a lot of people prefer it because it requires less prep work before painting. So to summarize, every thermoplastic has its pros and cons. In the end, what you use is best determined by your project and your budget. There are always new materials being introduced for the cosplay world, so don't be afraid to dive in and expand your knowledge and skills by giving them a try. Don't forget to subscribe for future videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.